Welcome to this session. I will ask you to mute yourself. As I mentioned, this session is being recorded, and so it's nice for those who listen to the recording if they can hear clearly the information that is communicated. I'm really honored for many of you who have taken time out of your schedules. For some of you, it's morning, for some, it's afternoon, and for some, like myself, it's evening here. So I'm really grateful that you have made the time to come to this information session. We are going to use the full hour. There will be a little bit of Q&A session, I should call it, towards the end, but we have quite a bit to cover. So we are going to get on the way. As you can see, I'm the Chief Club Creator, and it's a title that was honored and bestowed on me last biennium. And the reason why we have Chief Club Creators and, of course, in each district Club Creators is because of the strategic goal that had the intent of growing Zonta through new clubs. And of course, every time we bring in a new club or we make a new club or we create a new club, we actually have, of course, 15 members joining. So club creation has really taken off. Last year, where we created 32 new clubs, at the moment, we have 48 clubs in formation. So there is a whole heap of activity around the world in club creation. But we also know that it is not always a straightforward process. So the intent of this session is to make it a little bit easier to navigate through the steps that are necessary to make a club very successful. So what I'm going to do is now start sharing my screen so that you can see that this is a session that is 23rd of April, and soon I have to change it to the 24th of April for next session. Have a quick look at the agenda. I'll do the introductions in a moment, those who are going to contribute to this session and who are really an incredible part of a team that is behind club creation. We're going to have a poll with some questions for you. Then I will show you where the clubs information are across the globe, because of course I said there are 48 clubs, so perhaps you would like to know where they are. We are then also going to have a look at the ladder of success. The ladder of success is a process that we learned from last year, what works and how it works. We're going to have another poll, but then we're going to zoom in on an aspect that I think will be of great interest to you, and that is about how to attract members. So we've got a couple of tips that I wish to share with you, some practical tips that I think will benefit all of you. Then we're going to have some lessons from a rock star. I won't reveal who the rock star is yet, but it is certainly somebody who has a great deal of experience with making 16 clubs all over the world, and there is much to be gained from her knowledge. And then we're going to have a look at some resources. It is now my honor to introduce to you Deb Lal, our esteemed Zonta International Membership Chair. Deb, I know there's a lot happening in membership. So I would like to give you the opportunity to share with us some of the things that are happening in the space of membership.
Sure. Thanks, Ans, and thanks for putting this meeting together. And I just want to say good morning, good afternoon, good evening to all of you. A lot of familiar faces on this call, and I'm happy to see a lot of lieutenant governors. I've been working very closely with them this biennium. Yeah, so I am the International Membership Chair, and as Ans said, we're doing a lot under the umbrella of membership. In our committee, we have 3 subcommittees, and this is one of them, the club creators, and we are so happy to have the team that we have, because you can see very busy, 48 clubs in formation. But we also have a subcommittee for young professionals, and we have a subcommittee for students, and they're doing different type of webinars and meetings and getting to know our young professionals and our students and what their needs are and how we at Zonta can meet those. But in addition to those subcommittees that we also have what we call work groups, and we're working on different issues. And those issues are such as membership expansion. How can we, like club creators are doing, move into new clubs, new areas, new districts, new countries? And so we have a lot of people working on that. We have people working in membership categories. We currently have our young professionals, our classifieds, our supporting members and honorary members. But what if there's new categories we can go into? Corporate, student, different sort of categories. So we're exploring all those opportunities and how we can grow Zonta through different categories. Then we're also working on retention strategies. How do we keep people in Zonta when we tend to lose them? And we know that over the pandemic, it's been a very hard time for all service organizations. So we're working on some strategies for retention. Then the last thing that we're working on, which has been pretty big, is our core value. I know you've all heard about the core value. We've sent it out in slideshows for your area workshops. We're taking that core value, and from that, we will also be writing a code of conduct. So our committee is quite busy in doing a lot of things to help Zonta grow and stay strong. So thank you, Ans.
Thank you so much, Deb, for sharing that information. And I know that nobody is busier than Deb with meetings left, right, and center, because I think you are also the president of your club. Is that correct?
Yeah, I am the president of my club. I'm an immediate past governor, which also falls with club creation too. So a little busy this biennium, but it's great.
Very busy. And I think that should not be a surprise from anybody online here. I mean, as you know, we are committed to the cause of gender equality, ending violence against women. And now more than ever, there is a need for us. Now, the other important people that I wish to introduce to you are my fellow Club Creator Committee members, and who are a resource for your district. So what it means is, for example, that Regine looks after the districts in Europe who have clubs information and acts as a resource. Similarly, Joyce for North, Central, and South America. And then we have Julianne, who is not able to join us, and she looks after the clubs information in District 18, which is all of Africa. And then we have Winnie, Theo, and we will soon have another committee member joining us to look after the club's information in Asia. And then it's myself looking after the District 16 as a resource, District 16, 22, 23, 24, which is Australia, and of course also the Pacific. So this is our team meets once a month, and what we then do during these meetings is keep track of the progress of the clubs that are information. That's a very important task, and find out ways in which we can assist those clubs. Then I'd like to introduce two very important members, and I don't think they are online here yet, but certainly Yvonne and Mariah, many of you know them, and they are headquarter staff who assist us with many of our membership queries. So thank you, Mariah and Yvonne, for your help.
Can you hear me, Ans?
Yeah. Oh, Yvonne, you are there.
Yes, I am here. Yes.
Oh, of course you are there. So thank you so much, because of course I have given Yvonne a little task, a little request, and she has kindly agreed. So thank you so much, Yvonne. One of the lovely things I know about Yvonne is that she helps the Club Creators Committee informed as to where clubs are. So, you know, you've got about 2 years to form a new club. And Yvonne keeps a close eye on those clubs who have, after 2 years, still not managed to create a club, and ask them kindly to submit a request for extension. So Yvonne is a wonderful resource. Now I'm going to have a look and see how I can do the next bit. And that is a little bit of learn with me, okay? Because I'm so interested in polls, but I, of course, want to make sure that it all works. There's 2 questions here. I'm going to launch the poll, and the 2 questions are, is this your first time at a Club Creator information session? Please answer that question. And the second one is a question about, does your district have 1 or more clubs information? So please go ahead and answer those questions. Thank you. I always think it's an interesting snapshot that you get from a poll to find out where things are at. Very helpful for me. Okay, I'm going to end the poll soon. I'm just going to count down 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and end the poll. And I'm going to now share the results. And what you can see there is that This is not the first time, but for many, but I'm excited to learn more. And I can also see that there's quite a few districts that have clubs information. So very, very useful to know that. Okay, let's just go back now to the session. This is the snapshot that I promised to share, 48 clubs. Deb has already alluded to that. And here I'm not going to all the 48 clubs, but you can see there's quite a bit of activity, particularly in North America and in Europe. Certainly a busy job for Joyce, who has not only North America, but also South America. Europe, quite a few clubs information, and certainly in the last couple of months, Yvonne would confirm that we have seen great number of clubs information in that part of the world. Australia, New Zealand, we are on the way with Gympie as we speak. Africa has 6 clubs information, and Asia has 10 clubs information. Some of those clubs have been information for a long time. So already we've got a half a year has gone. We have so far charted 7 clubs, but with 48 still information, there is quite a bit of work to be done. So it's really important that we keep an eye on those clubs that have started, but perhaps are not progressing as rapidly as we wish. I'm just going to pause here for a second and talk about the ladder of success. Many of you are familiar with this. It's a very simple but yet methodical process of creating a club. And we have learned this from the 32 clubs that started last year. We have learned what the first and the second and the third step are, because and that is why we're going to spend a little bit more time on those rungs of the ladder a little bit later on in the session. We have learned that if you create a guest list that is full of people that align with the Zonta mission, you really set up the club for a good foundation. And as I said, we have 32 clubs charted last year. So I think that we need to really focus on how do we make a good guest list. And of course, we're also going to talk about how to plan and host an announcement event. Some refer to that as an information session, but it is important to do that at the beginning. And then, of course, focusing on invite until you have 15. So like I said before, I'm going to spend a bit more time on those 3 rungs of the ladder. But before I move on to the next slide, I really want to highlight something that is for all of us to take away. That even though you might be the club creator or the district club creator, it is not a task that is to be done by one person. So actually we should have probably the very, very first step should be to form a committee. Now, what we have learned again is that a committee of 4 to 5 is ideal, because it means that the workload can be shared. Now, that committee doesn't have to be 5 Zonta members. They could also be members who are of a community that are interested in helping to set up a new club. But we'll come back to that in a moment. As you can see at the bottom of this slide, I put a Dropbox link. So when you get the PowerPoint and you click on the you will get the resources that we will touch on at this session. Now I'm going to hand over to Yvonne, because Yvonne has some really good advice for club creators. Yvonne, can I turn to you now, please?
Well, thank you so much, Ans, and welcome everybody to this session. And I just wanted to say that one of the first things that has to be done once you have 15 members is that you really need to contact me so that I can set up the charter account for the new club. And this will give anyone, the person who is organizing or the organizers, the access to be able to add the members and to and then also to transfer members if there are people, there are members that are transferring from other clubs or that are also transferring from supporting membership. I welcome you to contact me if you have 3 committed people or 5 committed people. Let's get that charter account started so that you can start putting those members into the account. Thank you, Ans.
Thank you. Very, very helpful. Now, I actually should also ask you if you have any questions to put them in the chat. And Joyce, if I can ask you then to keep an eye on the chat, we will have plenty of time to go through that. It's really going to be, I hope, an interactive session. So it's not just me presenting, but it is also you asking questions and we together finding answers or practical advice. Okay, so put the questions in the chat as they come up in your head. We're going to have another poll. This time it's a little bit different because we have 3 questions, because I'm really keen where you are. Where is your club right now on its club information journey? And there's a couple of choices there. Another question about your concerns about starting a new club. Where do you need help with? So I'm just going to give you a little bit of time, and this is all anonymous. So
I've got a question. If there's no answer fitting for...
Put it in the chat, please. Carmen, that's a very
Okay.
good point. I actually had another as an answer
Okay.
in there, I have to say, but I did a test with my daughter last night, and she said to me, Mom, I can't fill in a word. What do I do? And I said, okay, I will take it out because I just don't know how to do that. But thank you so much, Carmen. So if you do have another reason, as Carmen has just pointed out, put it in the chat, and we will come back to that. Good point. I'm going to end the poll. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And I'm going to end the poll now and share the results. So as you can see, we got 4 that are ready to charter. My goodness, you have no idea how happy I am about that. That's very good news. Also with almost there and even building momentum. I'm really excited about this, about the responses. So thank you so much for letting me know. Now, what are the concerns that we have? Really difficulty attracting members. And that does not surprise me. That was also the most common concern I expressed last year. But we got ways around that. We got ways around that. And the aspects that you need help with is really about finding new members, which is essentially a little bit like attracting a new member. So we'll come back to that. Okay, now we're going to really dig down and get to where we need to be. I mentioned the guest list, and I've got quite a little bit of information about that to share with you. So I'm just going to go to my notes. And the first thing that you might say is, okay, I can see there's a Welcome to Zonta Club banner at the back, and I can see a group of professionals there. I tried to, with artificial intelligence, get some males in there, but whatever I did, the male was always in the middle of the photo. So I thought, no, I'm not going to do that. Then I will stick with my artificial intelligence photo with these professionals, because no matter what I did, they always put that male in the middle. Anyway, now I'm going to start with the right side of this picture, because what I have there is a beach ball, and I use that as a little bit of a memory aid or a mnemonic, as some of you might know it, as a number of letters that will help you to remember certain things. I have been involved in creation of 6 clubs. I've been in Zonta for 35 years, so a few years ago, in the early years, we started setting up in clubs in the rural areas. And one of the things that I learned then is the importance of creating a guest list. It probably wasn't as elaborate as it is now, because those communities were quite small, and you know exactly who the hairdresser was and who the owner was of Harvey Norman or a big shop. But I put the letters in there to help us tonight. The B essentially is to think about the business professionals or the business owners. Really, they are the people that can offer, the expertise and the network. So when you are in a committee of 5, you can assign the letter B, so to speak, to somebody and says, look, find out the business owners, the business professionals in that town, in that community, in that region. The E is for the educators. It's for the educator and the academics. So somebody who might look out for who are the principals, who are the professors, who are the lecturers, and again, have a long list of educators. The A, which is my favorite letter, because we're looking for advocates in the community. Every community always has somebody who steps up. We see that sometimes when you experience in the community, for example, a bushfire or where you see another emergency, there's always people that step up and you look for them. Who are the advocates in that community? Who are the ones who are really what I would call individuals who are dedicated to, social causes, and add them on that list. Now, you may not always know them, but if you have some sort of an idea as to what sort of people you look for, you will find them. The C, I use for the civic leaders. I use this for the councillors. I use this for the mayor. I use this for the people who are in what I would call the civil leaders, the executives. In fact, the mayor of the town where I used to live was very supportive of Zonta and would always generously give time. So as a matter of courtesy, this is a lesson that I have learned from the rock star we'll meet later on. One of the first things she always did was contact the mayor of the town and say, I'm going to introduce yourself, and then say, I'm going to make a new club in your town. And as a matter of courtesy, I wanted to let you know. And it really, I think it's a very simple but yet effective strategy. And particularly if you say to the mayor that Zonta is an organization that is about making communities safe for women, which mayor will decline the opportunity for a club to be formed in his or her community? The H stands for healthcare professionals. Think of your doctors, think of your nurses, think of your other healthcare professionals, because they too are very well placed to potentially be interested in a new club. Not necessarily for joining, but I'll come back to that. And the L, I couldn't find something for the L, but the L is the leaders and our legal professionals, your lawyers and your solicitors, and often people who give generously of their time with legal aid. So this is really a task that can be easily done by a committee that really puts their head to it and makes this guest list as long as possible. We're going to come back to how do we then convert that into invitations, but certainly begin by making a guest list that is as long as you can, because we also know that if you make, for example, if you've got 100 people on your list, you may have maybe 15 or 20 who will respond to an email or who will respond positively, and then you will have even a smaller number coming to an information session. So again, my advice is to make that list as long as possible. The other thing, actually, I should mention also when I talk about this is that I have also learned the importance of connecting with other service clubs. So if there is a Rotary Club, or if there is a Lions Club, or if there is a Seroptimus Club, or whatever club there already is in that community, reach out to them and say, we're going to make a new Zonta Club in this town. Don't worry that they're going to be jealous about competition, because even they may not necessarily join your organization. It starts with creating visibility and announcing that something is going to happen in that town. And often, and Sandy will confirm this, Sandy Van Proun, she will say, if you stand in the lift and somebody sees Zonta and they say, oh, what is Zonta? He said, oh, it's a Zonta convention here in the building. People say, oh, what is Zonta? But if you are standing in the lift and you say, I'm going to a Rotary convention, everybody knows. So sometimes you can actually get that mileage out of partnering with organizations and creating a leverage, of their visibility already and their work in the town. So again, not only the beach and the L, but also the service clubs. Okay, let's just move on to the next one. The personal invitations, something that I have already perhaps mentioned at a previous Club Creators session, is that nothing is more effective than a personal invitation. And sometimes we seem to forget that asking our family members, our friends, our networks, and say, look, I'm going to start a new club in this town. Do you happen to know somebody who you think might fit Zonta? And often that is the case. They say, oh yes, I think I have a niece Now, she might be interested in Zonta, I don't know, but it makes it easier then for us to pick up the phone and to, because we now have a connection, and introduce yourself, and so begin to ask and let everybody know that there is going to be a new club formed, and ask current Zonta members or your family members or your colleagues, ask them for names or contacts, and often you will find that that is an easier way to also get into that personal invitation. And I'm going to acknowledge here the work of Annelie. Annelie, who has done a brilliant job on the right-hand side. Annelie has started an e-club, and one of the things that Annelie generously shared with me is this flyer. As you can see, the first thing, and the one on the left, Nashara, is not online, but she is an Area 2 director. Robin knows her quite well, and she has, based on the idea from Annelie, she has created a similar flyer. Now, there's two things that I want to draw attention to. This is a really good one to actually make, oh, somebody is drawing on my flyer. And one of the things that I wanted to say is that we have the Zonta Club information logo that can be used on there. But also the other thing too that I want to draw attention to is that the photos already show, these are Zonta, from Zonta events. So you can use, it's a flyer that immediately tells a little bit more of the story of the work that Zonta does, education, or the other one is about no to violence, and it's about scholarships. If you look at the QR code that Annelie has put there, and Nishara as well, that's a very easy way for people to register their interest. Annelie, before I move on to the next slide, did you want to add something that you think will add value to this this flyer or this social media post? Because you actually use it for social media as well. Did you want to add something? Add something to that, please?
I think you covered everything that people need to know, but I think it's a good strategy to set up social media accounts as soon as you get the logo, so you can get attention. It's very easy also to share just Zonta International posts. You don't have to have anything yourself to share in the beginning. So
Yes.
you can just share what other people are posting. I would do that quickly. That would be my piece of advice.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just interrupt for just a moment? We have a question from Lou. She asks, would you share the slides and a template of the flyer?
Absolutely. In fact, I had a meeting with Zonta International, and that very same question I asked them, because I also shared Annelie's slide, and I said, is it possible for Zonta International to make some templates so that we can use Zonta colors, we can use everything in line with the PR guidelines, and that was confirmed. In the meantime, while we're waiting for those, Annelie, you're happy for that to be shared, I gather?
Of course.
Yes, I thought so too. All right. Now, we're going to have a look at the next slide, which is the invite. I don't know how to move this this marking, but anyway, I hope it doesn't trouble you. Can you see it or not? Yes, yeah, it's all right. I hope it doesn't trouble you. So one of the things that I wanted to spend a little bit of time here is the ability to make personal invitations. What I have learned last year from the previous membership chair, Teresa Harris, who was into marketing, is the formula of phone, mail, phone. So once you have your guest list and you've got your names and your contact numbers, it is important to make a phone call. I know it is not always easy because it is more time consuming, and sometimes for those of us who don't feel that confident about or speaking to a stranger or speaking to, for example, a mayor or an executive, it is important that you put together a little script for yourself, and the committee can help with that. There's plenty of ideas about how you could do that. So for example, let's say I want to ring my mayor. I have, like I said, I've got a very supportive mayor here, and I would make the phone call and say, hello, Mayor McDonald. My name is Ansmarie VanErp, and I'm phoning because I'm going to create a new club in your town. And then, of course, the next thing might be Zonta is an international organization that empowers women, wishes to end violence in the community. And I would love for you to join us on an information event in the library on such and such a day, on such and such a time. And I'd love for you to come along. Is it okay if I send you some information or email you some information? Is it okay if I follow up? You know, those sort of questions then give you permission to send an email with some more information, but also it gives an opportunity to follow up. Now, it may well be that the person that you are phoning is not interested, and don't be hurt. Don't be hurt if something like that happens. Most of us, as you know, when we were asked to join Zonta, said, I'm too busy, I don't really have time. I think it's a great organization. So be prepared for responses like that. But at the same time, I think it is important, again, as I said, to make that personal connection. I am concerned that if, for example, we would email, let's say we sent out 500 emails, that most of those emails will remain unread. And so it really is disheartening. So the invitations are really important step to bring somebody on board. So once your committee has developed the flyers and has identified a venue and a spot and a time, you could basically bring that into the conversation. We might come back to that aspect, but I certainly have found it very helpful to have a very short script with a few words, and I can also send you easily some samples of a script and practice that so that you become more competent and confident with that personal approach. It is really the way, particularly if it is about focusing on things that are going to benefit the community, initiatives that are going to benefit the community. Most people respond to that. Okay. Now, the other thing I put in there is offer incentives. Because most of the district budgets that we have seen for these events are about snacks and about drinks and all of that. It is important. It is certainly, if people come after work, they would really appreciate a drink. But you could also have a raffle, a little raffle prize or some other giveaways, and perhaps even have a prize for the person that signs up on that night. That would be a lovely prize. But it is about thinking together as a committee. How do we make this information event? How do we get them interested in the first instance? And if they do come, to show you our appreciation. I know of a club that has, as an incentive, got a keynote speaker. So, for example, if you have somebody that you know of, it could be a Zonchen, could be somebody who can speak about ending child marriage or a topic that is relevant, or the police officer who is really asking for help to create a safe community or have a shelter. You just have a keynote speaker or a local speaker or another Zonchen is often another way in which you can attract some interest to your announcement event. The next slide is about making it convenient and engaging. I already mentioned to you the importance of having an event that is short, maybe up to an hour. We already have PowerPoint presentations that you could use. We have agendas that you could use. We have invitations that you could use. We've got the flyers, as you've seen. So we're making this whole process of preparing for the success of a new club as easy as possible. And I think the other thing too is one of the fun activities is if you, for example, do a presentation about Zonta, you can have some trivia questions and you can say, for example, how many members does it take to make a new club? Because one of the things that I think is important that we start with at the announcement event, start with the end goal and say we need 15 members, so that everybody knows it is about getting 15 members. So always start with the end in mind. And you could have another trivia question about, where is Zonta's headquarters, something like that. A little bit of fun, a little bit of, again, going to the information that they need to be aware of. Now, the question that I often get is, how often do we do these things? Well, again, I have to turn to my friend who has started 16 clubs. And she will say, have several events on one day. But of course, we can't do that in our current lives. But certainly, my recommendation is as follows. So once you have your event held, you try and repeat that same event at least 1 to 2 times, maybe even 3 times in 2 months' time. So let's say maybe every 3 weeks you have an event. you have a session, let's say today is the 23rd of April, you might have another one in the middle of May, you might have another one at the end of May, maybe early June. But it is important to really keep that momentum going. It is important not to have too much time going in between those things. So host 2 to 3 sessions within the first 2 months. And after that, so that gives multiple people the chance to attend. And after that, you could do it 1 to 2 months. I think it is important to really highlight this, that these are the lessons that we have learned. These are the lessons that we have learned from people that have created successfully. The last slide that I wanted to show about this aspect of inviting members, hosting events, is to keep track of how many people have signed up. Once you have for example, your Facebook page, just celebrate, even if you have 1 member that has joined or 2 members that have joined. It was really important to highlight the fact that we do have these sessions, and we want to make sure that people in the community know that this thing's happening. So stay connected with the people that have signed up. Also stay connected with the people that have perhaps show no interest, and say, look, thank you so much. Are you still happy to receive some information? Maybe decide at a later date. Have some virtual meetings as well. It's not all face-to-face. You can have some virtual meetings. And if you have somebody who's interested in immediately joining up, ask them to be a supporting member, or perhaps to join even your club. And then once the club is formed, members can transfer from as a supporting member to the new club, or from your club to the new club, and they will still be charter members. Okay, so that's really important to know, that we just don't want these people to hang around until we have 15. Offer them so that they can already receive information about Zonta and be connected with Zonta. This is my rock star, Diane Lego. Most of you have met her at convention. She's a member of my e-club, and she has single-handed started 16 clubs. These are some of the tips. She always says, move swiftly. She has managed to finish creating new clubs all over the world, and sometimes it only took her 2 months. Research the town, send letters and make calls. This is what we have highlighted today. Work inexpensively and mind the budget. That's why it would be good to have those flyers by Zonta, so we don't have to invest in, graphic design and all of that. And hold several Zonta events in one day, which is again not practical for us, but it was for her, because she would fly, for example, to a new town and spend a whole day or 2 days or 3 days there. So she would have several of these events shortly after each other. We don't do that, but at the same time, we will follow that example of moving swiftly. Be expressive when you talk about Zonta. Hand out applications with interest checklist, and recruit more than the minimum. And make sure that once you have all your applications and use in hand, you begin to organize the new board and the new president and so on and so on. I think we probably won't spend too much time on that. I don't know whether I can play this video. I just can't remember whether I've shared the sound. This is a little video clip that Zonta International has put on. So it's a short video clip that Zonta International has put up there, but I think it's a nice one. We are going to have a centralized club creator resource. So again, Zonta International is working on that, so that when you type in club creator in the search box, everything will come here. Because at the moment, you got to go to Dropbox, you got to go to YouTube, you got to go to step by step. Like everybody agrees that the information is there, but it is too difficult to find. So Zonta headquarters has offered help and are going to have a centralized resource. And I think that brings us to the end. So I'm going to stop sharing the PowerPoint, and we are going to now go to the questions that perhaps are somewhere in the chat box. Joyce, can I ask you to lead this session then with the questions, please, or in
Sure.
the chat?
Okay. Here's a question. When you say sign up, do you mean become a supporting member of Zonta?
Yeah. Yeah, ideally, yes. When you have your application form, Zonta has application forms. That would be the form that you use, that they actually become a member. Because as we've just learned from Yvonne, that account is there, so they can already do that. So previously we didn't have that, and that's why I said let them sign up as a supporting member. But no, in fact, it is signing up as a member of that new club. And then if that takes too long, if you think, gosh, that takes a little bit long, we might actually ask for that member to see if they could temporarily get access to the Zonta International member information as a supporting member. I just have to think about that one. Yvonne, can I turn to you?
Yes.
So if somebody signs up and they have paid their $88, can they, but the club is not, there's no club formed yet. Can they become supporting members then?
Absolutely. Yeah. And we can then, if you have somebody that's very interested and is really committed to helping with forming the club, you can absolutely encourage them to join as a supporting member. And then they would have access immediately to resources that we have on the website. So yes, in order for the club organizers to start entering the members of a new club into our database, that charter account has to be set up. Only the club organizers have access to that. They're responsible to add the members and submit the transfer forms. But yes, the way for someone to get immediate access to the resources that we have on the website would be to sign up as a supporting member before the club is, officially chartered.
Okay, thank you. Joyce.
Okay, along with that, then what do we, when they have members that are going to be transferring, how do you count them? Do they still stay in the previous club until the new club is chartered?
So if a member were to join as a supporting member, and let's just say somebody's very interested and they would go into the system and sign up to be a supporting member right now, okay, they can be a supporting member until that club is forming, and then we can transfer them over. And just to remind everybody, we do have that member transfer form that needs to be submitted so that we can take care of that transfer here at headquarters. Right now, it's a little bit of a tricky time because we are just starting the membership renewals now. So I have had a couple of situations where a member is transferring from their club to a new club. And sometimes it's best if they go ahead, if their current club pays their dues for the 25-26 year. We will then transfer them over and those dues will transfer to the new club. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I understand that Lou has a question. She has her hand raised, Ans.
Oh, sorry. Yes, Lou, go ahead.
Good morning to everyone. Thank you, Ans, for the presentation, and to everyone who had pitched in some information. I just have a few questions because this is kind of an atypical situation. I am a member of the Zonta Club of Fairfax in the US, but Peruvian American at this point, but born in Peru. So I was very interested in creating a Zonta Club of Lima, working with Theresa Harris, that I understand was, in charge of that membership process at the international, Zonta International level. We submitted the form, so basically started a new, the process of creating a new club in Lima. So this has been very interesting because even though we had one-on-one information sessions with her, and also, different information sessions for people who were interested, who we basically sign up for those sessions to let them know about Zonta and try to recruit new members to be able to get to the number of 15, they say, to charter a new one. They say sometimes you can start with a few less, but I don't know all the nuance of that rule. So the question here is, because I've been listening about this supporting members, so I wanted to understand, even if I don't have the 15, can I register and get others to pay? Because we were worried about, making others pay when we don't have the 15 to already charter the club.
Yeah.
So and what does it mean to be a supporting member, and also about the account, then we can go into the transfer form if we can sign them somewhere else. But I didn't think that was feasible because I am in the US and, they would be in Lima.
Yeah, I think it's important to clarify that as soon as somebody pays their $88 and $15 joining fee, they are a member. Okay, now clearly they are not a member of the club yet, insofar that the club hasn't been chartered, but you can already collect money. Now, the question is, what do you do with that money? Because if you would pay it straight away to Zonta International, that can happen if they become then a supporting member. But otherwise, it is not, what shall I say, with the currency exchange, it's better to do one transaction. Is that correct? Because otherwise you just have to pay a currency exchange fee all the time. Is that correct? That's why with membership dues at the end of the financial year, Zonta year, we always collect everybody's dues and then pay it as one lump sum to Zonta International. We don't want to pay the extra fees all the time. So if the money is received, the member has signed up, they can become, and that is what we were talking before, they're not a member of the club, but they are a supporting member. And that they are supporting member means that they are a member and they have access to the Zonta International website, but they don't have voting rights yet. They don't have, for example, an obligation to attend face-to-face meetings. So you can collect the money, and perhaps you could ask the treasurer of your club to hang on to that money, or make that member, give it to Zonta International, and it becomes a supporting member.
Thank you. That's very helpful, very clear. One other question that I already raised when we were in New York at the CSW with different leadership members, which is about the membership fee. Have Zonta consider maybe having like other organizations, sort of area, geographic area fees or things like that? Because the thing is, in the US, it's different in other countries also. But if you go to Lima and other countries in South America, sometimes the fee at the exchange rate, Liliana that I saw, she's creating a club in Chile to know this, the exchange rate makes it, and the economies on those regions, some countries in South America are a little better than others, but basically, some are really struggling. So at the exchange fee and at their economic context, it becomes really high.
It is. And I think that is certainly a consideration by the Zonta International Board, because certainly we have seen that membership fees can sometimes be a barrier for some clubs, but at the same time, I don't think that there is at this point in time anything that will address that. Perhaps the board will consider a different structure fee, but at this point in time, the membership for everybody is still $88. And I feel it in Australia, because at the moment our dollar and exchanges, it doesn't go very far. So it's certainly not an easy time. But I'm confident that the Zonta International Board is aware of this and will find a way forward. So
yeah, I understand, and thank you for that. But my point is not only about the exchange rate, but it's also about the economy in terms of the comparable. Like the fee will be a sort of a very high percentage of what the country has as a minimum monthly rate, for
Yes,
example.
I know.
And when
I
I say
know.
a high percentage, I'm talking about at the exchange, because when you add local club fees and everything, then it comes like, in the US, like 100, I don't know, 50 or something like that. That in Peru at the exchange rate becomes 50% of the minimum monthly income for a lot of families. You know what I mean? Not everybody is at that minimum, but that's just to give you an idea.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And I know that that is certainly also the case in District 18. Some of the economies in Africa are experiencing the same. So thank you for sharing that. I'm just going back to Joyce. Joyce, what other questions do we have there?
We have another question here, and it says, what about a prospective member joining an e-club first while waiting for the chartering?
Perfect. Perfect. Yep. Absolutely perfect. Yep. 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 Definitely. I think one of the things that we wanted to make sure is that those who are really putting their hand up early enough because they're really keen, we don't want to lose them. We have also seen last year whereby 2 or 3 members, there was a new club to be formed, and they were ready, and then the interest stopped. So we got to make sure that as club creators, we stay in touch with everybody. And I know it's a commitment, but at the same time, it is proven to be worthwhile to invite them to even participate in a virtual meeting, in an e-club meeting, but keep reaching out. Joyce?
That was the last question at this time.
Okay. Are there any other questions?
Yes, I thank you for the info. I just put it in the chat box. Am I correct that we may transfer existing members to the new club, which means it's not a very pleasant thing for the old club?
No, I know. Perhaps that is where I need to clarify that. One of the ways in which we can help members who, for example, interested in joining Zonta, but their own new club has not been chartered yet, they can temporarily join an existing club and then transfer later on once the new club is chartered to that club. So we're not taking away members from clubs to another club. Sometimes that can happen because, for example, it might well be, I have seen that in my club, that members transfer to an e-club because they like the e-club format better. So sometimes that can happen, but it's not to steal members from other clubs. We don't do that in Zonta.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So it's prerequisite that they already emphasize that they are temporarily for that club, and when
That's
a new
right.
club
That's
is
right.
formed, they will be moving over. Yeah.
Yes, and they will become
Okay.
charter members of that club. They become charter members of that club.
Good. Good.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay, I really appreciate your time. It's now really up to me to send you the recording and to send you the PowerPoint. Thank you so much. And again,
you.
I see you soon. Good luck with creating new clubs.
The following is the Q&A from session 2.
Joyce just explained me that she cannot unmute herself, so she can't talk to you right now for one reason or another.
Oh, Joyce, you can't.
No, she can't.
Let me just see if I can do it from my end. If I can.
But I think she had a question with regard to what is the process getting a new country approved.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thank you, Joyce, for that question. And I'm very happy that I can answer that question because we've traveled that road before. Zonta International has forms. So we do have forms to authorize to start a new club. And we also have forms to authorize the start of a club in a new country. And they're not exactly the same because when you look at the form that is required to be completed for a new country, there's a little bit more research that needs to be done. So what will happen is that the person that is suggesting a new country will put together a little paragraph as to the rationale why that country should be considered, and might take into consideration the political environment, the economical environment, to make sure that if there is going to be a new club, that it will be safe and be supported by, for example, the government. Zonta International then receives that request. It's of course signed by the governor. It's considered by Deb. Deb, I think you too get a little bit of a task, isn't it, about and perhaps jump in here because Deb, you did that end as well. Did you want to comment on that?
The person that's interested, signed by the governor, then it does make it to my desk, so to speak, and I do a little research to find out, is it a safe country for us to be in? Are NGOs supported by the government? And just a little research, and then send it to Zonta International, and they further research and make sure that it's a good country, and that we have a future in that country. So it is a process. We try to do it quickly.
Yes, and what happens is that we do have a couple of new countries at the moment, and so where we don't have a Zonta club yet. And in fact, the last new country that was approved as a Zonta club country was Rwanda of Kigali, Zonta club of Kigali, New Voice. So that's the latest country, and that makes us now that we have presence in 65 countries across the globe. So we definitely have a process to make sure, as Deb has already suggested, that we make sure that it's safe for the women to meet and that it is supported by the government. Okay. Now, Joyce, I'm just going to have a look myself and see if there's any questions in the chat box. Ada, you are online, and you mentioned that there's a new, yes, that's right, there's on the Club of Kowloon too. Where are you, Ada? I can't see you. Oh, yes, you can, if you wish, unmute yourself. You are unmuted now. If you wish, you can turn your camera on. And I know that you have already charted the club, and it was a celebratory event. And you actually have mentioned something that I didn't mention, and that is that once you have people who have expressed an interest in joining, ask them to begin to recruit members as well. Ask them and say, encourage them to bring a friend along, promote the word of a new club in town. So they then too become part of your club creator committee, so to speak, in active recruiters. So use them again, as we've seen from Ara, that she has been gathering members for the new club and inviting the friends to join the activities. And I thank you for the flyers. We will send them around, and you can then modify them, use them as an example, and see what the registration form looks like, so that you can copy that. But Zonta International has also committed to produce templates so that we can use those as flyers, because we not all have the easy access to graphic designers. And I know, yes, small, indeed. I agree with Regine's comment about small wins. So if you have 1 or 2 or 3, make sure that you celebrate that. Now, I just want to go and make a comment here about the Club Creator Committee meeting made up of Regine, Joyce, Julienne, myself, and Winnie. We meet every second Wednesday of the month. And what we discuss there is to keep each other informed of the progress of the club's information in their footprint. So Regine will give us an update and will say, for this club, they are close to charter, or this club has some challenges. And together we identify ways in which we can support those clubs. So it's really an important time that we spend. It's only once a month, but at the same time, we cover a lot of ground to make sure that we don't lose sight. Because what we have seen is that clubs have been given 2 years to form a club, and after 2 years, still not much has happened. And in fact, what will happen then is that Yvonne will send an email and ask, do you want an extension, or, what's happening? Because if you don't do that, it is really easy to lose track. So again, the probably core message is to have a really good club creator committee around you, because it is far too much for 1 or 2. You really need to share, commit some time, invest some time up front, And hopefully with the advice that we have provided here and will continue to provide, you'll get there. I got an email or a text this morning from somebody online that I wanted to share with you. It was actually a quote from Nelson Mandela, and she says, it really is pertinent because she knew I was presenting this session here, and she says, "It always seems impossible until it is done." So this is a quote by somebody who, of course, we all admire, Nelson Mandela. And he says, indeed, it seems impossible until it's done. And that applies, of course, to club creation and club formation as well. I'm going to pause for a minute. You can unmute yourself and continue. We've got still a few moments left in this session. If there are any questions or if there are any comments, or if you need further clarification, this PowerPoint presentation will be shared. The recording will be shared, and please use it as a resource for others. I really am eager to find out how things are going. Don't forget, you've got your Club Creator Committee who is there as a helping hand. I'd like to think that all districts have at least one club information. If your district does not have a club information, talk to your governor after this session and say, look, it is part of Zonta International Strategic Plan. What is it that we can do? Think about a location. Sometimes that is the first challenge. Where are we going to start a new club? And you can start a new club, for example, it might well be that you think of the geography. Are there other clubs nearby that could support? Is it going to be an e-club instead of a face-to-face club? Is it going to be a virtual club? And we have seen last year about 10 new e-clubs. So we've got something like 18 e-clubs around the world. E-clubs are increasingly popular because of the aging of the membership and sometimes even the cost of membership. Not so much the Zonta membership, but for example, the cost incurred when you have a meal at a restaurant. So sometimes there's a reason for somebody who is still committed to Zonta, but finds it difficult to get out at night, for example, or finds it financially a little bit more attractive to be a member of an e-club. And I can assure you that an e-club is a very good a way in which we can continue to serve Zonta. I'm planning this is just for your information, I'm planning a global session for e-clubs. Last year we held e-club forums, and they covered things as how do you virtually raise funds, how do you do virtual fundraising, service, advocacy, and again, how do you create this fellowship or this friendship, which is always a little bit harder if you don't have the opportunity to see each other, meet each other. But yeah, those clubs have managed, many clubs. My own e-club is 5 years old, and we certainly have, certainly continue to provide services to a lot of good charities and are able to raise funds in a virtual manner. So once or twice a year, I will hold a session for all the e-clubs in the world so that they can connect and learn from each other. I'm just going to have a look if there's any other questions. Oh, this global session. Oh, Regine, I haven't got a date yet. Last year, probably I had it in May, but I just have to look for a suitable date. Yes, certainly it always generates quite a bit of interest as well, particularly because for many it's still a bit of a novelty. They actually took off, particularly around the COVID times, when many more clubs had to resort to virtual. And I've heard of some fabulous fundraising, a virtual wine tasting session. I've heard of virtual chocolate tasting. So some really good suggestions to have fundraisers in a virtual manner. Oh, yes, Nicola, I can see that. Yeah, you can unmute yourself and tell us a little bit more about your e-club in New Zealand. What's happening?
Hans, I'll put my video on as well. Yeah, we've just started the process. We got approval at the end of last year. Thank you. And so yeah, working with our district governor and vice governor, they're really passionate about it. So we've had one session, just sort of a bit of an information, and at the moment we're just sort of trying to get names and people to register and everything. We've got a few people who have been past members of other Zonta clubs who just don't now have the time to be part of a physical club. So they're really, really keen on e-club. So yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to a session on how, what other people have done. We've connected with a couple of people in Australia who have also started e-clubs. So yeah, we're really excited. We've got at the moment about 8 or 9 people who are interested, but they are past members of other clubs, which is great. So we're trying to sort of like maybe get more people who are more
Yes.
interested in finding more about Zonta
Yep.
who may see this as an option.
Actually, it is an advantage of having, one of the recommendations we make is that we have, when an e-club is formed, that at least 5 of the e-club members are Zontians. In
Oh,
fact,
cool.
in my e-club, we have our oldest member. You may not believe this, but it is true. Our oldest member of the e-club is 96,
That's so cool.
and she will be 97 on the 17th of June. Yep. An amazing Zontian, and certainly, she's been in Zonta for a long time, but certainly when I first joined Zonta all those years ago, she was a great mentor and continues to be a great mentor to me. Yeah, 96 she is.
Wow.
So it is possible to, particularly now when people have easy access to with iPads, it's not necessarily always the computer. The mouse is sometimes still a bit of a challenge for some, but certainly an iPad is a much user-friendly device to conduct virtual meetings. And many clubs these days also have hybrid options. It's not always easy because you need to have the really good IT to make that happen, to make the meeting meaningful. But certainly we do have many more options available to us. Okay.
It's one of the things that I wanted to share that we did talk about this morning is, if you're forming a club and you have a couple of members that are just so excited to be part of it and they want to do it now, you can always ask them, they can join as a supporting member, and that way they have access to all of the resources online, and they can look at the tools and things. And then once, a forming club is more established and they're ready, they can transfer into the club, if that helps at all. I know that gives a member potentially, early access to some, to really learn about Zonta and how we operate and what we do.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And we certainly have seen that the supporting members I think that number is growing across the globe. The other category of supporting members is people who have, for whatever reason, decided not to continue their club membership and so transfer to remain supporting members because they firmly want to believe and support the cause of Zonta. So if a club is, or if somebody is deciding to resign from Zonta for lack of time or other things, health reasons, always encourage them to consider to remain supporting members or to become supporting members. The big difference is, of course, that supporting members don't have voting rights because they don't belong to a club. But certainly in Zonta International welcomes for those supporting members to be connected and help the establishment of Zonta membership. Now it's 8 o'clock sharp, my end. I'm pretty sure it's different time zones for you all across the globe. But may I use this opportunity to thank you all for joining this session. It really has been wonderful to see you all online. How many did we have? Let me just see. Oh, we got 17. So we had 22 in the previous session. Very good. I'm really happy that we have this interest. Remember to continue to reach out to your resource. We really, really welcome you. Emails or phone calls, whatever works for you. We want to make sure that you don't feel alone on this journey. And we know that by supporting each other, we can make it all happen. It was just wonderful. So I'm going to now say goodbye. And be on the lookout for the PowerPoint and the recording. Thank you so much. Have a great day if you are just starting it. And for the others, sleep tight. Bye-bye. Bye.